Okay, when we first got this in, it's got body solid on it. It's got all the things that you can expect from what we've seen with the Ares in many different ways. Heavy stacks, not quite as heavy, but still very heavy stacks. It's got functional trainer off the front. It's a full rack. Also has individual lat pull down and low row with 2 different pulleys, and the top pulleys swivel, and it looks and feels very budget. Not in necessarily a bad way, but like this is gonna be cheap. But is it a budget Ares? You just have to watch. Hey guys, it's Coop from Garage Gym Reviews. Today we're reviewing the Body Solid GPRT 400F. It's got a bunch of different letters to it. It's the functional trainer rack. In many ways, this takes things that we see from the higher, more expensive racks like the Rogue FM series, also the Rep Ares, or even some from Force USA, and combines it into, I think, more of a budget-oriented package. This is definitely designed for home gyms. You can see it throughout all their marketing. In fact, I've never heard a company so excited that their rack is 1 inch shorter than a competitor. But they make it very clear. This is a 79-inch tall rack, and they're proud of it. And one reason for that is because it's designed for a home gym. It can fit in basements, it can fit in short ceilings. Body Solid, you guys have asked for a bit to do more reviews on Body Solid stuff. After I used their open trap bar, which I'd like to do a full review, but I did rank it really high in our tier list. I was like, man, their price point, some of the things they're thinking through, this is a really more budget-oriented company that's doing some good stuff. I want to try the racks. And so this is the first one. If you'd like to see other Body Solid products, let me know in the comments and we'll get to review. Let's start with the rack. So the rack is technically called the GPR 400. They make a few different racks. This one is basically their home-oriented version. They have like a pro club line, which you can assume from the name, it's more for like commercial light duty. They give a lifetime warranty actually on almost all of their home products. So anything that's used in the home, they give a lifetime warranty, including this rack, which is sick. They have a light commercial warranty if you're gonna use this in a commercial facility, but I wouldn't recommend it. This is not, like, just being clear, this is not a commercial product necessarily. It's really designed for home gyms, and you can see that from all the different design decisions. The rack has a typical construction you'd find with most racks. It's a 3x3 upright with 11 gauge steel, and it has 5/8-inch holes. The uprights themselves are 3x3. It's technically a flat foot rack, and what they're doing, probably to save some money, is they're using 2x3 on the base and 2x3 for the top cross members. Generally, that's not gonna matter very much, but it does maybe affect some of the potential attachability you could find from other companies. Due to the size of the uprights, it's gonna take pretty much everything from your Rep PR4000, your Rogue Monster Light series, your Bells of Steel Hydra, and your Titan X3 series. I will say Body Solid also has a ton of attachments, and the outside width of the rack is 48 inches, which is the same as Titan. So some of the cross member attachments you'd find from Rogue and Rep probably wouldn't fit because of the width, but they would fit from Titan. Now, they are using west side hole spacing all throughout the uprights, and they, instead of using numbers, which this is really annoying, I've got a list of basically things that I'd like to see change on this. This is one of them. They use like this small hole every 5 holes just to indicate that this is a different hole. I like that there's something, but if you're going to do a hole, I feel like you might as well do a number. I don't think it's gonna cost that much more machining time, so you might as well put it in there so it's easy to read. The height of the rack is 79 inches. Due to the height, there are some things you have to consider. One, you may have to pull up your legs when you're doing pull-ups. On the pull-up bar, they're just standard straight pull-up bars. The back one actually has a logo on the back, but the front pull-up bar actually is knurled, which is a nice touch if you want knurling. I prefer knurling on pull-up bar as long as it's not too aggressive, and this one is just fine. But one thing that does really matter is the lat pull-down integration on this, and because of the height of the rack, for me at least, I'm able to get a full stretch, but if you're a lot taller than me, you may have some issues. Then to the functional trainer. This is the part that really matters. If this was released, honestly, maybe like 5 years ago, this would have been pretty revolutionary. Today though, there are many options that do similar stuff, both on the cheaper end, but also on the more expensive end. So the Rep Ares Rogue FM series. Also on the cheaper end, you have the Major Ludies and the Rit Fits of the world. Most of those are more a Olympic plate, like weight plate holder style. This one is a stack version. The stack version, as you'd expect, is quite a bit more expensive than what you have with the Olympic version, but it does give you the ability to just quickly change things out. What's unique about it is they're doing something kind of like the Rep Athena, but also kind of like the Rep Ares, in that they're basically putting the stacks on the sides of the rack, on the frames of the rack, instead of in the middle of the rack, but they're attaching them in such a way where it's not just flowing to the sides, they actually connect in the middle too, very much like the Rogue FM series. So honestly, it's most like the Rogue FM twin stack version versus their new like central stack version, because it has two stacks and it basically integrates into a lat pull down and low row. So on the functional trainer side, it has a pretty standard trolley. The trolley's nothing to like ride home about. It has a 180-degree swivel. It's very light and easy to move with one hand. It actually is a little bit unique in that the pop pin is actually on the front, which places the trolley a little bit more forward, but it has a full swivel, basically everything you'd expect from a functional trainer. The stacks themselves are 210-pound stacks, and they're on a 2-to-1 ratio. They call it a 1/2-to-1 ratio. I've never heard of a company call it that, but I mean, it may be this, I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me. But a 2-to-1 ratio, that's what it is. So basically the stack weight, what you're gonna have off the front is gonna be half that. The stack is 210 pounds. 210 pounds, honestly, for most people is gonna be more than enough for functional trainer exercises. That's gonna give you 105 pounds, and even very expensive functional trainers, including the one I have in my garage, the dual cable cross from Free Motion, doesn't even get that heavy. Now, one thing you'll see pretty quickly, and this has become kind of an industry standard now for, I'd say, this level rack or above, is this has nylon pulleys instead of aluminum pulleys, and actually the nylon pulleys it uses are, they're just okay. I would say, if you like Body Solid, if you're gonna make some updates to this, one is people really want the aluminum pulleys. They not only look better, but they're also smoother, especially when they have nice bearings on the inside. That's kind of the standard that every company is going with now. So if you're going to compete with those guys, I think you need to offer aluminum pulleys, at least as an upgrade. Now, one thing that is unique about this and allows them to like cut some costs is they're not using a back post on the back. So this technically is not a 6-post rack, even though it looks like it. This is a 4-post rack. And then they're using the guide rods on the back to basically support things. That's actually a pretty cool idea, because the back posts on most of like the Ares or the FM series are only gonna be used for weight plate holders, which I would prefer. But if you wanna save some costs, this is definitely a way to do it. It's still very stable, still very smooth, and works just fine. I do really like the integration of the lat pull down and low row and the way that they've done it. Basically, you select the weight on each side, and then they integrate into 2 separate pulleys in the middle. The pulleys that are up top are actually most like the Rep Ares 2.0 in that they swivel. So kind of cool if you want to do individual arm, like unilateral stuff. And then the bottom ones have individual pulleys too, and then you can connect them together using chains or like a banana clip like you see. They come with a special lat pull down bar, so you can connect in 2 individual sections, similar to what Rep does. Honestly, I don't know if this came out before the Ares or after, but one of them was inspired by the other, because it's very similar. This just feels like a more budget version. I will say though, one of my biggest pet peeves on this and just about any stack version, when they don't put weight increments. Why would you not put a weight increment on the weight stack? Everybody is trying to figure out how much they're lifting. They're writing it down to track it. They want to know, they want to tell their buddies, hey, I did 210 pounds. You can't do that, because this has 1 through like 21 or something like that. You know they're 10-pound increments, but like put the freaking sticker on there that tells me the weight increment. Like, it's so simple. I shouldn't be that mad about this, but I am. I don't want to know I'm lifting, 5. Put it on 5. No, I want to know 50 or 55 or 60, something like that. So very frustrating for me and nobody else in the world, but definitely for me. Now, one thing that is really cool about this that I want to call out, we have this bench here. This is called the Gleg. I don't think they actually call it the Gleg. They probably call it the G-Leg or something like, or the GLEG, but Gleg sounds pretty cool. This is a Body Solid Gleg. This is basically I don't know how to say it, a not very good version of what I'd like to see Rep do with the Ares platform. Here's what I mean by that. They're basically taking a multi-use bench that has a leg extension leg curl off the front, and they're wrapping a cable underneath with a cam off the front, and it attaches to the weight stack on the back. It's honestly like, it feels a little bit like a prototype. The bench doesn't necessarily like insert. The leg extension doesn't get a great stretch. The leg curl is it's just close. It's like right there. The idea is there, but I think this is the future for a lot of these systems. And I think other companies, or Body Solid should improve this, and other companies should see this and think of ways that they can integrate something like this, as well as like an arm curl. Things like that would be amazing for integration. So I love that they're thinking through this. It's just for those reasons I'm out. Okay, now to the value. This is really, I would say, more of a mid-tier option. It's not as cheap as, say, a Major Ludi or RitFit. It's not as expensive as a Rogue or Rep, and it's sits in between those quality-wise too. It's better than the Major Ludi. Like, the quality is actually pretty good. It comes in any color you want so long as it's black. It's got 11 gauge steel, but it does not feel anywhere as good as like a Rep or a Rogue Fitness on the refinement side. So you'd think the price has to be way less. The reality is it's not. This is what's frustrating. This all in is about $2,720, I think is what it was, has free shipping. But when you compare that to these other options from Rogue and Rep, it's not that much cheaper. So it's like, man, I would love to say like, this is a budget Ares and you should get this if you're on a budget. The reality is I can't really say that because you can buy an Ares 1.0 for about a similar cost, or even an Ares 2.0 if you just get a 4-post option, which technically this is a 4-post option, but they do it in a little bit unique way to have you use some more space. But man, in my opinion, it's like, I think your value would be better spent there. And Body Solid, I love the idea, but I'm maybe running higher margins or something because you're running through dealer networks. They're an older company, been around a long time, but most of the way that they made money was old school through dealer networks. They're coming online more and more and doing more D2C stuff, but I just don't understand the price. It just seems a little bit more expensive. I was expecting it to be cheaper. So I love some of the design implements. I love what they're doing, but it's just comparison to other companies that are out there. It's just not there yet on price. It's gotta be cheaper. One other thing on the price comparison, if you're just looking for like a decent rack, the GPR 400 is actually a pretty good deal. I was thinking $725 free shipping, that kills the market. The reality is Titan Fitness has the X3 flat foot rack, 82-inch rack for actually $25 less. So they're a budget-oriented company, but it's not like they're that much cheaper than other companies. In fact, like this rack, because one reason I started to review this is because there's people online that don't like me for some reason. Can't imagine anybody not liking me. No, I'm just kidding. But they were saying like, Coop never reviews Body Solid stuff. He has something against Body Solid. It's like, no, I just never thought their value was there. Well, we got the rack in, and now that I'm doing price comparisons, it's like, it's decent, but there's still options like the Titan X3 flat foot rack that I would say is actually a better rack, is already cheaper than this one. So it's just like, the price, it's just gotta be a little bit cheaper if they wanna compete against the bigger guys. What do you think of the Body Solid rack? What do you think of their other options? I love some of the stuff they're doing. Kind of reminds me of some of the Iron Master stuff where it's like, man, there's really cool ideas here, but you gotta lower the price in some way. Let me know in the comments what you think of the rack or any other Body Solid stuff you'd like to see me review. It's been Coop from Garage Room Reviews. I'll see you next time. Peace.